Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the channel or welcome back to the channel. I often say for those of you who hang out with me regularly, I appreciate you always, always. Hope you had a good weekend. And for sure, who did have a good weekend was the Grim Reaper, right? Wow. Was that a wild, some wild news for us to wake up to, some of us late Saturday night and certainly yesterday with the news of the passing of Lindsey Graham out of South Carolina. um, just the whole aftermath of that. I know you all are watching the tributes and the bipartisan mourning that's happening. Cory Booker showing all of his true colors right about now, right? Oh my gosh. But here's what I want to look at, you all, is, there are some questions around the timing of this happening to Lindsey Graham. Cardiac situation, we're told, right on the heels of him coming back from meeting with Zelensky in Kyiv, right? And that he was right on the verge of, he got together with Trump, and Trump, who at one point lifted sanctions on Russia regarding the sale of oil. Now Lindsey Graham's program was to get sanctions back in place and to pass legislation through Congress, and apparently got Trump to buy into that. So this was what was in the works. This was one of the reasons for his latest visit, Graham's visit to Ukraine. Now we're hearing, from all of the flags, going at half-mast, and all of the tributes that are pouring out and will continue to, that the passage of this bill for sanctions against Russia around oil sales and any countries who buy oil from Russia to be passed, that this is now considered a legacy bill to honor Lindsey Graham, right? I want to take a look and see if, in fact, that's going to have some movement, but also because what we see Trump doing, no surprise, always going to make it about him. Trump is saying, once again, that, making these efforts around the Save America Act to create chaos for elections in the midterms, that he is trying to tie language to the Save America Act to this legacy bill, which apparently has a lot of bipartisan support. People are down for passing these sanctions against Russia. All right. So that's what the first thing that I want to take a look at for you all today. Spirit. In the wake of Lindsey Graham's passing and this new sanctions bill against Russia, is that going to pass? Let's look at that first. Is that going to pass? Is that going to become a priority for Congress to pass that in honor of Lindsey Graham? This new sanctions bill. So we see the Seven of Swords. Definitely, I'm not surprised to see that at all. By the way, I'm reading with the Santa Marta deck today. Appropriate, right? Not surprised to see the Seven of Swords come up at all, because there is some deception around this, you all. Like the reasoning, the real reasoning behind it. Also, I get it. Eight of Wands. Definitely they're going to try and rush it through. Congress is really going to jump on the bandwagon with this whole, let's give Lindsey's, long-term support in Congress, his efforts in Congress. Let's make this bill in his honor. But I'm backing up a second with that Seven of Swords, because some people are wondering if there was in fact foul play. Like, okay, he took this trip, next thing you know, bada bing, bada bang, his heart gives out. Spirit, was there foul play involved? People, the whole Russia thing and folks out of windows and stuff, you all get it. So, Spirit, was there some sort of foul play in regards to Lindsey Graham's passing? Page of Swords, Queen of Wands, Five of Wands, and the Six of Pentacles. I do see this as more of a health issue that was growing, you all. And I will say this, not to be snarky or anything. I think this is Lindsey Graham coming up as the Queen of Wands. Many of you have seen social media has blown up regarding his proclivities, we'll call it that. And that there were apparently a lot of NDAs that were out there around Lindsey's support, purported, perhaps, preferences and things that he had done while he's been in office. So again, for entertainment purposes only. But I do think this is his energy. It's presenting itself to me in a feminine guise. Now, Six of Pentacles. That feels like health. Very often in Pentacles, I will get more of a health situation, but this is where I think this built up in his system over time. He did have heart issues, and the Five of Wands was this struggle within his body. So Spirit, was this a health event? Was this actually a health event? The Three of Wands, the Ace of Swords. Yeah, this was a health event, you all. It may have been, the Three of Wands, though, does feel like this was something that built within his system. Was it related to the travel? Like being on planes, the Star. So this was related to his travel. This was related to his, I'm getting diet, and just in general, his health overall had been deteriorating, whether he recognized, whether he knew that or not. It had not perhaps been publicly known that he had heart issues, but this was something that I don't see something nefarious here in terms of Russia being involved in it, or somebody giving him something that exacerbated it. And the Nine of Cups. Yeah, this was something that built up in his system over time, that literally, I think it was a condition that, perhaps had not been spoken about or talked about. Why would he? But this was a health event, unexpected health event. Planets doing their thing, Grim Reaper doing its thing. Now, back to the bill. The Queen of Pentacles. That's somebody in Congress, championing this. And the Tower. Because of his loss, pushing it. Suddenly pushing it. Mars energy. And the Four of Wands. That feels like completion. And Congress coming together with bipartisan support to pass this sanctions bill. Spirit, please give me confirmation with a major arcana. Is the sanctions bill against Russia going to pass? Will Congress get this through as a legacy act? Knight of Swords, definitely moving it along. The Three of Cups, celebration over it. Two of Cups, bipartisan support for it. And the Seven of Pentacles. There's some sort of details that slow it down. Is it because of that Save America Act? Because Trump is trying to, of course, piggyback whatever he feels is going to have momentum in Congress, piggyback whatever happens to tack that Save America Act on there. Is that what slows it down? The King of Swords, the Page of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles definitely slows it down, and the Six of Swords. Oh, I'm sorry, the Nine of Swords. You all, I'm not so sure. The fact that Trump is really pushing, in order for him to buy into the sanctions against Russia aspect of this, he's being really adamant that the Save America Act, and that's a no-go so far, at least for Congress. So I don't see this going right away, or being put through, this legacy bill being put through right away. The Wheel of Fortune. Because again, it has consequences. If they tack that Save America Act onto it, that's not going to go over well with voters ahead of the midterms at all. Spirit, are they in the High Priestess? They're trying to figure out, is there a way to add language to this sanctions bill that is not so obvious regarding voting? They're trying to figure out, and that's what slows it down, because they're trying to figure out a way to appease Trump, who they want his buy-in for this legislation in Lindsey Graham's honor. They want his buy-in, but he's placed conditions on that buy-in. And the Nine of Wands. Y'all, this is a struggle. So this whole thing of, let's hurry up and get this moving. honor his legacy. I don't think that's going to happen right away. It could very well wind up getting pushed to the next Congress, unless they find a way to get Trump to back off of tacking on the Save America Act. As long as he continues to hoop and holler about that in relation to sanctions against Russia, that's what slows it down, and there's a problem. All right. Second thing we want to look at, of course, is Mitch McConnell. So the image came out yesterday, and people had you saw the image, the feedback on social media. People went off about the fake AI photo, right? No audio, no videos, but we suddenly get a photo of him sitting there in that hospital bed with his wife, pointing to some newspaper that some scouts examined and was like, that newspaper article was from April, right? All right. Meanwhile, Governor Andy Beshear, out of Kentucky, has been, of course, he's under a lot of pressure and is saying, listen, we need something from you. We need to understand, where are you? Are you alive? You got to do more. So, and that's mounting. That pressure is mounting because there is some noises being made about Andy Beshear trying to get Thomas Massie in. Now, there is a Kentucky law that says the governor does not have the right to issue a replacement in lieu of a special election, if I'm getting the facts straight. But I understand that Beshear's trying to find some ways to work around that. So I'm going to see, are we going to finally get some proof? The commonly held belief out there is that he's brain dead. I got a reading last week, I think it was, where Spirit said Mitch McConnell's in no condition at all. If they're keeping him alive at all, he's in no condition. But will we see some finality to that, Spirit? Are we going to see some absolute truth as to Mitch McConnell's condition this week? Will the truth come out this week about Mitch McConnell? Is he alive? Is he comatose? Is he going to somehow, some way come up with a video? We have the 9 of Cups. I'm sorry, the 6 of Cups. No, 9 of Cups. I was holding it upside down. 9 of Cups, so that's the pressure mounting. Like, you're going to have to do more than a doctored AI photo, right? And the Hierophant. Interesting. The Star. And the 2 of Swords. All right. The Hierophant is him, Mitch McConnell, longest living senator, right? Been in office, I think, since 85. So this is him as an established. But the Star feels like he's gone to the stars, or he's about to go to the stars. And the 2 of Swords is the quandary that they're in to try and, we know in most traditional decks, you see the 2 of Swords with the figure blindfolded. It is as if, I think what Spirit is saying here is the desire to continue to keep people in limbo and not knowing for sure, not really being able to see what's up with him. And the Magician. That's it. They're trying their darndest to keep this thing under wraps. They need, especially now with Lindsey Graham's passing, right? And the thin margins in the Senate and the House too, for that matter. Spirit, is Andy Beshear going to be able to force Mitch McConnell's hand? Is Andy Beshear going to be able to take definitive action to force his hand? Ace of Swords. Ace of Swords. I'm really happy to see that in terms of people getting the truth and the truth getting out there. Andy Beshear is going to force this issue. Will he try to go to the hospital or see McConnell? The Page of Swords. He's being encouraged to do it. Justice. There's legal, going back to what we saw Spirit said, but also we know there's a provision in Kentucky law that prevents the governor from just automatically nominating or naming a replacement. So that's the justice system coming into play in Kentucky. Spirit, is Thomas Massie going to step in, or will he take in the interim, will he take Mitch McConnell's seat? There's the Three of Swords. Oh, but strength. It would be interesting. And the Nine of Pentacles. You all, there's some momentum behind getting Thomas Massie in that seat. We know Thomas Massie is on his way out in January, but again, this is an interim situation. The election for McConnell's seat is going to take place in the midterms in November. But there is some momentum behind. I think what we're getting here is, to the extent that Andy Beshear can really get this thing going, like show up or shut up, the person that he would most like, as a Republican, of course, Thomas Massie, would be Andy Beshear's choice. Am I getting that right, Spirit? The Five of Cups and the Fool. It's interesting we get the Five of Cups, which is a card of struggle, but there would be people who would want someone else. That's what Spirit is saying here. There are a lot of people who would want someone else in terms of a Mitch McConnell replacement, even in the interim, a temporary replacement. They'd want someone else there. But the Fool is showing there may be someone unlikely who comes forward, the High Priestess. There's someone unlikely who may come forward and be the person that Beshear is encouraged to put in the interim position of McConnell rather than Thomas Massie. Because Thomas Massie almost would be, and a King of Cups. That's not Thomas Massie. That's somebody else. There's the thing is, Thomas Massie, people know, he's made his share of enemies in Congress, given his stance on the Epstein files, among many, many things, and the fighting between him and Trump. I think that Beshear is under pressure if he is given the opportunity to push forward someone else in the interim, that he's being he would be pressured to get someone who is more amenable to and less contentious within Congress. And right now, Massie, while the progressives, certainly are like, yes, stick it to him, because Massie has been so vocal and willing to fight against Trump, that may not be the way that the Republican Party, especially out of Kentucky, wants to go. They want somebody who's more amenable. And I'm getting the Ace of Pentacles, a confirmation around that. So to wrap this up, Spirit, will we see this week, the lever go one way or another regarding Mitch McConnell? Is he out or is he still around? Four of Pentacles, stalling, trying to keep it, and the Seven of Wands, and the Eight of Pentacles, and the Ace of Wands. I think there is something definitive that's going to come out around him with that the Eight of Pentacles coming with the Ace of Wands. It could even be that we will see yet more doctored audio or video, something that continues to drag this out a little longer, where the proof of him either Mitch McConnell either being comatose, brain dead, and kept alive on some sort of life support mechanism. I do not see him in a believable way showing up. He would have done so already. And the Nine of Pentacles. Yeah, then the clock is ticking. Look at that. I got to show you that image, right? Clock ticking. And the Nine of Wands. I'm going to stick with what Spirit showed me and some other readers have seen this as well. I don't know that he has actually left the planet or transitioned. I do think that they are continuing to try and keep him alive for as long as possible in lieu of the impending elections in November. We may very well see additional attempts to, just like that doctored AI photo, we may see additional attempts to do that. Andy Beshear, meanwhile, is on it. Like, he's doing everything he can do legally. That we got that justice card. He's doing everything he can do legally to push this issue besides storming the hospital or facility wherever Mitch McConnell is, but he is also under a lot of pressure in terms of if he is able to get someone in the interim before November to fill that seat, because that person would also be in office until January, until the end of Mitch McConnell's term, right? Whoever wins that election in November doesn't take office until January. I don't think it's going to happen this week. I do think we're going to see more momentum to try and cover up, but not this week. I do think something is going to happen before the election. They cannot continue to hide this indefinitely. Like, they cannot. And the idea of him being propped up somehow to give proof, audio, video, something, is a long shot. It's a real long shot, you all. All right. Last thing I wanted to look at today is Ro Khanna being detained in the West Bank. All right. Many of you probably heard about this. And he has spoken about it. He was out, on the shows over the weekend, on news shows. So apparently, to highlight Ro Khanna, many of you know, as a progressive who has certainly been very outspoken, along with Thomas Massie in regards to the Epstein files and other things, Ro Khanna went to the West Bank ostensibly to document what was happening live for the Palestinians there. Progressives as a whole, there's this whole growing momentum around pulling back from unmitigated support of Israel in regards to Palestinians, etc. Many of you know about that, and we talk about that on this channel and many others. So Ro Khanna made a trip over there, got detained. His van got surrounded and stopped by Israeli settlers and the Israeli military in the West Bank. Now, that is illegal, we're told, that the International Criminal Justice Court they're not supposed to be there. Israeli settlers and certainly the military, they're not even supposed to be hunkered down in the West Bank this way. So Ro Khanna was bringing attention to that, and they surrounded him. They said the only way he got out was because he reached out to the U.S. Embassy in Israel. Of course, Netanyahu and the Israeli military are saying Ro Khanna's lying through his teeth. He never went through the proper channels. What he is saying was done to his van. Apparently, they were kicking the tires. They had M4 rifles trained on him. And I'm sorry if you're getting some noise interference. Landscapers have been outside all morning. I'm actually taping a little later than usual because I was waiting for them to stop. They ain't stopping. So I'm sorry for any noise in the background. Spirit, here's what I want to look at. Ro Khanna's trip to Palestine and highlighting this issue of stopping, full stop support for Israel and its military, and understanding that the talk is now that the Israeli military is actually partnering, gaining data and access to the U.S. military. Ro Khanna's sort of at the front end of trying to bring attention and highlight that issue, but also remembering that with the progressives that you've got in various races around the country that are coming up in November, this will be a major thing to highlight the truth of what is happening in the West Bank. Is there a concerted effort to stop that? To stop attention being brought to what is the UN and the International Criminal Justice Court are saying this is illegal. The Hierophant, government interference in the West Bank. The Four of Wands and Temperance, 100%, you all. This happening to Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna will not be the last progressive who wants to visit that area and who will visit that area, but they know that, the more progressives and the more you bring attention to what is happening to Palestinians in the West Bank, they absolutely don't want to see that. They have made their moves to take over that area. Hierophant, that's the Israeli, government. So that's what's happening. All right. I'm actually going to cut this a little short, you all, because it's irritating me and it's maybe irritating you if you're hearing it. But keep your eyes on that. The Five of Wands, there's a fight brewing, and the Wheel of Fortune. There is a fight brewing, and it is going to continue to brew. And when we get that turnover in Congress, especially if this is bringing more progressives winning office in Congress, then the West Bank is going to, and the attention being drawn to what's really happening in the West Bank is going to be at an all-time high. And so therefore, the justification for the U.S. to begin to pull away, from this blank check approach to support for Israel's military, that's what's at play. And that's why they want to stop it now. That's also why Ro Khanna took the measures to get over there. And the Eight of Pentacles, it ain't going anywhere. You're going to see more around this. And the Five of Swords, the efforts to dilute the truth that people see. Hey, guess what? They are actually, and the Five of Pentacles, it's going to slow down their plans to take over the West Bank, right? Which we know that was part of Jared Kushner's whole thing, going over there. Was the whole plan was to take this land and turn it into this profitable resort area. From Bibi Netanyahu's perspective, it's about, of course, expansionism and expanding his power along the West Bank and retaking that area. Ro Khanna's on sort of the front edge of bringing attention to that, and behind him are going to be these progressives, and that's another reason why they are really scrambling. The GOP is really scrambling to try and get a hold on this and trying to stop these progressives. Eyes out very much. We'll be looking closely at the Senate race in Michigan. That's going to be definitive. You've got El Said, the Muslim candidate, going against, what's her name, Haley, the more traditional Democrat. So again, the effort is we've got to stop these people, not just because of their policies or their agendas regarding the U.S. Situation, but also because of their stance on Netanyahu and the Israeli government and its expansionist plans, and tying that to U.S. interests and milking the U.S. for everything they can, right, to advance their agenda. So that's what I have for today. I hope it was helpful. I appreciate you all so very much. And thank you so much for the feedback on the Mojo oils. I've got some more that are going to go out. We've got a new moon coming up tomorrow. So I try to work my energy around new and full moons. So for those of you who are waiting on order fulfillment, that's going to go out by the end of this week. I need to juice up and charge the oils. If you're interested in learning more about my Mojo oils, there's a link to it below on my website. You can read about the process of how I make them, what they're intended for, and place orders. You have to look at the shop tab on my website, right? It's trulytouchedbytarot.com, and you go to the shop tab, and that's where you'll see the Mojo oil. I'd love for you to explore that a little more. And again, thank you to all of you who have left incredible comments and feedback around how it makes you feel, the whole vibe around it. I put a lot of work into them. All right, you all. I'll talk to you a little bit later. Stay safe out there. Chins up, shoulders back. Believe. Sky above us and the earth beneath our feet. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.